Good morning and welcome to another edition of Research Fantasy presents our MLB DFS pitcher picks for Friday, June 16th, 2017. Interesting night last night, to say the least. Didn't get to see what happened at the games, at the end of the night, but I do know that basically the only pitchers that really were worthwhile were Chris Sale and Nick Pivetta, because as I've said, if you've listened to these videos time and time again, the Boston Red Sox are absolutely horrible when it comes to facing good matchups. I got lost in the fact that Mookie Betts was playing well to forget one of my cardinal rules is that when the Red Sox are playing in a situation that they should thrive, to just completely avoid them because they will not know how to play baseball. And what did we see last night? We saw Chris Sale pitch a gem, which included, of course, just one blunder, well, two blunders, getting a guy on base to set up the fact that someone would be able to single to drive him in, and he was not able to win the game. Will go down as the loser of the game because that's how baseball works. If your offense can't do anything against a guy who cannot pitch to right-handers, can't win. Cannot do anything, so that's what we have. Mookie Betts, 75 to 80% ownership on FanDuel and cash games, just bupkis. Unable to do anything, one single, but Sandy Leon kind of screwed him out of the ability to do anything else by forgetting that he's not that talented of a baseball player, being unable to round the bases and get to home plate. Let's refresh and hope that Friday will be better. I hope something happens in the U.S. Open. I've been able to be profitable every week in golf this year. I have 1 out of 50 lineups in the cash right now. I've never seen a worse assortment of professional players just being unable to do what they're supposed to do, other than the Red Sox, of course. But yeah, Dustin Johnson, John Rahm, Jason Day, Billy Horschel. This is getting dangerously ready to go to an R-rated podcast. I don't hesitate to drop the F-bomb or anything else when I'm in general conversation. I try to clean it up because who knows who's watching these videos. But they're really pushing me to a point where it's become ridiculous. You have your stats, and then you might as well just set up a dartboard with names. In fact, I have dartboards right there. Look, my little I forget what it's called. It's kind of like a scrum board for research fantasy development. But might as well just put all names on there, stand back, just shoot, because we've got 3/4 of the field that are above the cut line right now. Who the hell knows who any of these guys are? We have Shander Shafefeli Kafefi. He's vying for the lead, and we've got all of the guys that are supposed to be talented world-class golfers. And John Rahm and Dustin Johnson especially have no excuse. Jason Day at least has been awful all year. Anyway, let's get back to baseball. We have our usual 15-game slate tonight. Pitching a little bit tricky. From my perspective, Scherzer and Severino, those are tough matchups for those guys. I'll have tournament exposure to both of them, but I don't know how heavily I'm going to buy into them in cash games. I could see things going wrong for both of them. Carlos Martinez, probably a bit of a safer option from them, shockingly, but I've had really, really good success when targeting Baltimore this year, so I don't hesitate that. But really, my three favorites, and they're all a little bit risky, or a lot risky. Daniel Norris, 13.5 fantasy draft, 7,300 FanDuel, 6,800 DraftKings. A lot of times when I'm trying to sift through who I want to use in tournaments, it just comes down to the matchup. And with the Rays striking out almost 27% of the time against left-handed pitching, it's worth a shot. And really, if you look through Norris's game logs, like, for his price, he doesn't really do that poorly. I mean, I'm thinking 15, 17-point range if the strikeout thing is real. And we saw Francisco Liriano do well enough against this team a couple of days ago. And I might put Daniel Norris above Francisco Liriano in terms of guys who I trust at this point. So, I mean, you could get a 20-point game out of a guy on DraftKings at 6,800. You can maybe get mid-30s, upper 40s, like low 40s, out of him on FanDuel. Like, it's not the worst idea. It could certainly blow up in your face because he does have some struggles against right-handed hitting, and the Rays will attempt to go right-handed in this. You'll see most likely like Tim Beckham, Ricky Weeks, but like Evan Longoria, like he can't do anything. He can't do anything against bad pitchers, let alone mid-tier pitchers. He's just there. He's just a guy in a lineup right now because of his name. Weeks hasn't been good. Beckham is starting to regress, I think, kind of to that point where he was last year, where he was good for the occasional home run, but outside of that, it's strikeout city, so it wouldn't shock me to see him come through here. Next up, Junior Guerra, 12-4 fantasy draft, 8,100 FanDuel, 6,200 DraftKings. Again, another guy who's not a safe option, but he's taking on the Padres, who do get a big bump moving from Petco to Miller, but I could still see Guerra having a decent shot at a good outing here. Again, the Padres striking out 26% of the time. Looked good in their series against Cincinnati a couple of nights ago. They were putting up some runs, so tough to say how this is going to play out, but that is the basic definition of a tournament play. Don't think I'll have as much exposure to Guerra as I might with Daniel Norris, but he'll still be on my radar. I think, and I still have several hours of research to do, but it does appear as if James Paxton might edge out Carlos Martinez. It's going to be tough. I'll kind of break down. He's 17-1 on Fantasy Draft, 8,700 on FanDuel, 8,800 on DraftKings. And so here's the good side of things. Paxton, obviously a pretty good pitcher, having a solid year, was thought to be one of those trendy, should do a lot better than he has been picks in fantasy drafts. Spend some time on the DL. This team is awful. This Rangers team just awful against lefties. Low WOBA, low ISO, low hard hit, extremely high strikeout rate at 27%. But this game is going to be played in Texas, and we're in June now, so we're basically at peak heat. And that makes a difference. If you've got that humidity down there, that heat, it can definitely shift, a pitcher. It can move them off of their game. So I want to say I feel like I think Paxton's a little bit safer than Scherzer or Severino from a pure matchup standpoint. I really do worry a little bit about the park, but we've seen the Rangers get shut down at home. It's not something that's out of the realm of possibility, so that's probably where I'll go tonight. Once again, my three favorite options for cash games and tournaments: Daniel Norris, Junior Guerra, James Paxton. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel below. Head over to researchfantasy.com to see what we got going on over there. Like us on Facebook at Research Fantasy. Follow us on Twitter at Research and Win, and join us again tomorrow.